All right, well, let's just dive into it. Probably the first couple minutes here. Quick call out though. We're going to record this, and everybody that was registered today, keep an eye out. By the end of the day today, we should send you out some kind of follow-up email with the recording and everything we went over. So keep an eye out for that. And like I said, don't hesitate to ask any questions if you have any, and we will open up like a Q&A session at the end for you guys. Let's just dive into it. First things first, I'm going to let Andy here talk about kind of establishing a culture of prospecting through your database and your day-to-day workflow with your team and how that can be beneficial since he's got a lot of real world experience with that. If you want to hop into that for a minute there.
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand, with this type of lead generation, right? It's not a super high converting lead source, right? We're not going to be converting 75, 80% of the leads that we generate. So how are we going to, structure our team, coach our agents, or even just as a solo agent, what kind of habits am I going to put into place to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to make sure that these leads convert and I see ROI on the back end. And so just to kind of give you an overall scope of a culture of prospecting, really how I define this would be making perpetual prospecting a habit across your daily routine and your organization. And so, just to kind of put a little bit more structure around that idea, there are three core components that I really try to get my clients to focus on. And the ones that implement this have results faster, and the systems naturally start to evolve, and they start to see ROI at a much faster rate than people who are just kind of winging it. So three of the the core components that I call like the foundational pieces of a culture of prospecting are going to be the systems and processes that you put in place for your book of business, right? Number one is going to be the leads journey from creation to closing table. Regardless of the CRM that you're using, that should be standardized, and everybody in your organization should know that, right? So from creation to closing, right? They stay in a lead stage. When we connect with them, they move into my pipeline, or I find out they don't have a real estate need. They go into a different bucket, right? We need to standardize that process. Number two, we have to set expectations around prospecting, right? And so when I say prospecting, what I'm referring to is more of a kind of like a KPI, right? A key performance indicator. And when you break out what a KPI is, right, there's two types. There's lead and there's lag measures. Lead measures are going to be speed to lead, number of calls, contacts, appointments set. A lag measure would be appointment taken, a buyer representation or a listing agreement signed, under contracts, closings, right? And each one of those directly influences the next, right? So the number of calls you make will directly affect the number of appointments you set. And the more number of appointments you set will dictate the number of under contracts you have, right? So that's a huge component of this. And we need to set those expectations early. We need to build the habits around prospecting on a daily basis. The third component is prospect in your CRM. Don't do it from your cell phone. As a team lead, you need to do this because you need the reporting numbers. If you've got an agent that's collecting leads, and every time a lead hits your system, they claim it, they call it once, and that's it, you're lighting money on fire, right? So as a team lead, you need to know who's converting, who's trying, who's putting in that top line effort. As a solo agent, you don't want to get spam likely flags put on your cell phone. Very hard to remove. The CRMs, we can go in, we can swap out numbers fairly easily as long as you have a dialer and you're paying for that. Every CRM is a little bit different, but all I'm saying is prospect in the CRM. It will help your team. It will help you make decisions on where to go. So that is kind of the core components, and I think we're going to get into a little bit more now about like what can we do to help with that. So I'll let Lauren kind of take over from there.
Awesome, thanks, man. Yeah, so to touch what on Andy was saying there, it's highly important, guys. Definitely following up with these leads. Even our call center that we've set up calling these leads, trained by Barry and Gabe and some of the best in the business, right? It's 6 or 7 outreaches to get a lot of fruition out of a lot of these leads. And it's especially imperative in the first couple of days, right? These leads are on a bunch of different sites. They're using other sources as well. So establishing that relationship in the beginning, being the first realtor to speak with them, build out that relationship. We all know that percentage is crazy high of people that work with the first realtor they talk to, right? So that initial start is very good. I encourage everybody to kind of make it a habit of your team to make their phone calls, send their text messages, send their emails and stuff all through Follow Up Boss, all through your CRM. So everything's tracked. You're able to, as an administrator or a team lead on the account, you're able to hop into your Follow Up Boss account and right off the bat, just looking through your smart list and your agents, kind of get a general overview of everything that's going on. Who are your agents, reaching out to the most, the time to the first call for some of these leads. A lot of that can be handled just directly in Follow Up Boss via the reporting section or even just the smart list. So we're going to hop into a Follow Up Boss account, and I'm going to go over a couple of things that where I see some clients having success. Our realtors and residents, Barry, Gabe, Livia, were kind enough to work directly with Follow Up Boss and kind of build in some smart lists as a one size fits most for Ylopo clients, right? It's a great foundation to get down. And these smart lists are really going to pull the most active leads in your database up to the top every day. So you and your agents can focus their phone time on people that are more active, engaging with HomeBot, engaging with Raya or chatbot. All that great interaction usually indicates they're closer to a transaction date or at least a little more serious, right? I can automate most of the rest. I can automate my colder, my longer term nurture leads, bad credit rental leads, whatever the case may be with that. I can still provide them value, but my phone time is going to be, hyper focused on people that are more active. And that's where those smart lists come into play. So let me share my screen here and we'll kind of dive into some of that. All right, Andy, screen share look good?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, cool. All right, so Follow Up Boss. The first couple of things I'd like to talk about before I hop in too far is if you're an administrator on your account, go into Follow Up Boss, go into admin, go into tags, and turn on auto tagging. It's a blue link right across the top there. I should be able to show you, but we have a ton of tags in our system, so sometimes it locks up. Make sure auto tagging for leads is turned on. Basically, what that's going to do is apply a city and a zip code tag to every lead that comes in, especially y'all with larger databases, 10,000, 20,000 leads, whatever the case may be. Bear with me, I think there we go. This will pay dividends off in the long run. Maybe you get a featured listing in a specific city in your area. I'd be able to go through my database and just using tags. So for example, maybe I get one in Los Angeles, right? I can just use tags for Los Angeles, any zip code that incorporates that city as well. And then that'll give me a list of everybody in my database that's ever searched in that area. And I can come in, select all, and I can send them some kind of batch email highlighting my featured listings in the area. I can tie in some of those branded market trends from my branded website tools, a lot of great stuff with like that. So I encourage everybody to make sure, I don't know why it's off by default, but I encourage everybody to turn it on. The second thing I like to touch on is stages. Stages are going to play a couple of important roles throughout your process. You can control Raya communications based on stages. For example, most people don't want Raya talking to anybody in their hot stage, right? Your agent should be having communications with those leads. And maybe like past clients or people like that, you don't want the chatbot reaching out to. You can control all that communication via a stage. And once you're a little more advanced within Follow Up Boss, you can control action plans and automations being kicked off, all based on a stage change or a tag added. So really organizing those stages in the beginning before you get too crazy into it will pay dividends in the long run. Every lead's going to start off in the initial lead stage as they come in and you're generating them. And then we encourage you at a minimum to at least use like a hot, warm, and cold stage, depending on where they are in their journey once you get a hold of them. That way you're a little more organized, your smart lists are kicking off. And back to what I was talking about in a little bit in the beginning there, making sure that your agents are actually making their phone calls and their text messages and their emails through Follow Up Boss will come into play as well with the smart list. Most of these smart lists are going to be based off of communication. So the leads will fall in and out of these smart lists based on when they've been talked to by the agent. So all of that really falls into play as long as your agents are kind of using the services available to them there.
Yeah, and to that point too, the stages are going to be your core organization, right? This is where you're going to organize your database. And so when you're first starting, keep this as simple as possible because you don't want 25 stages in there and then you bring on a new agent or you don't know where to put the lead. So keep those simple, keep those tight, but understand that if you don't use the stages, you're going to miss out on a lot of required organization that the smart lists are going to effectively operate on, and then kind of build it out over run the same stages for 3 months, right? And don't change anything, and then start to build in complexity layers and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Get used to this foundation, guys. Like I said, it's a great foundation to get comfortable with. Everybody's business needs are different. But this foundation, getting it down, working it into your day-to-day workflow, staying consistent with it is where we see our clients having the most success. If you build that out into the plan, and then as Andy was saying, we can fine tune it, we can help you, you could do it yourself. Just based on your business needs, you'll start to see any additional filters you need to add or anything that may help you from an additional administrative standpoint, stuff like that. But this foundation is kind of a one size fits most. Get it down in the beginning, get comfortable with the tags that are being applied to these leads and why they're popping in and out of these smart lists, and you'll have a lot more opportunity here. So we'll hop into the smart list. If on my screen here, you can see these first 8 blue squared ones. If you're on a Mac, they might be gray, but they should reflect along the top of your follow-up boss by default. If you're not seeing those there, go into manage lists up in the top right of your follow-up boss account, hit this best practice list button right here, and they're built into follow-up boss 1 through 5 right here, and you could just copy those directly over. These are the smart lists we're going to encourage you guys to work into your day-to-day workflow. Basically what's going on in the background, right? As these leads are interacting with your marketing, depending on what type of marketing you're doing with us, you're doing the Facebook, the Google, Direct Connect, whatever you guys are doing, we're going to be directing leads to your home search site. So they can look at all those properties. They're going to get a chance to look at about 3, and then they're going to be prompted with that dynamic registration form. Based on their answers to these questions, we're going to start tagging them right off the bat with important stuff like I need to sell before I can buy. I have credit issues I need to fix. This can really be very fruitful as well for if you have like a lender partner. Pay attention to those initial registration notes. They provide a lot of value. We have a list of tags. You may want to actually go through this and see all the tags that get applied to leads based on the interactions with your website, especially if you have an ISA on your team, there can be some very valuable one. If you're working with a lender partner, there's some very valuable tags in here as well. Like, I need to find out what I can qualify for. I have credit issues I need help with, right? These will all be automatically applied to the lead based on their answers to these dynamic registration forms. So make sure you're paying attention to those. And depending on your team setup, it could be valuable to even set up a smart list for some of these. And I'll talk about that a little further once we get deeper into follow-up boss here. So let's dive into the smart list. 1 through 8, right across the top here. The first 4, just to call out, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to leads active, are going to cover the initial lead stage only. So as all new leads come in, they're going to start off in that lead stage. As soon as you get a hold of them and you kind of figure out where they are in their journey, how far off they are from a transaction date, definitely keep it organized, moving them to those hot, warm, and cold stages or whatever you're using. And then they'll pop into the rest of these smart lists. The first 4 covering those new leads pretty exclusively though. Number 1, new leads. That one's pretty self-explanatory, right? If we look over at the filters here on the right-hand side, it's all leads in the lead stage, created less than 10 days ago. So for the first 10 days, all your new leads are going to pop up in here. It's pretty imperative to call these leads. Some people call it the 10 days of pain, 5 and 5, whatever you want to call it. Definitely encourage you to have your agents that first stage, make sure they're reaching out a bunch in that first week, right? We like to see 5, 6, 7 phone calls in that first week to try to establish that relationship, get a hold of these leads. I encourage most people to sort by last visit, this column right here. You'll start to notice that these smart lists, we have the columns kind of filtered out for you as well to make it nice and easy for you to just see at a glance. Last visit's the last time they were on your website. Trying to catch people as close as you can to them being on your website is usually pretty awesome. So you can sort by last visit, and then the tab right next to it is last communication. So you'll see right off the bat when the last time you talked to this lead was. This is a demo account, so it's going to be blank here. You don't want to see the blanks on your CRM though. But this will show you when the last time they were on your website compared to when the last time you communicated with them. Text message, email, or phone call. As long as that stuff is being logged in the system, that's kind of why it's important to be calling through Follow Up Boss, or at least logging your calls in here once you do make them. So number 1, new leads for the first 10 days. Like to see a bunch of phone calls, 6, 7 leads. After that initial 10 days, or if you move them into a hot, warm, or cold stage or accordingly, they'll fall out of these first 4 smart lists. So number 1, new leads, first 10 days. Try to call them 5, 6, 7 times, guys, all right? Number 2, important, we're moving over into most of the important tags that we apply to leads based on their interaction on your website. The tags over on the right-hand side, why priority, hand raiser, homebot engaged, and call now equals yes. The first one, why priority, that'll be applied for multiple different reasons. Somebody's favorited a property. They viewed the same property more than 3 times. They updated their phone number if you marked it as a bad phone number, or what's the last one? They returned to your website after an extended absence. All of that will trigger a Y priority tag. So all of that's pretty important website activity. The second one, hand raiser, that one's even better, right? Those are people requesting to go tour a property, or they filled out the contact us form on your branded site. So they're either asking for a direct outreach or they're asking to go tour a property face to face. And I'm pretty sure most of y'all do your best business face to face. You probably won't get as many of those as Y priorities, but definitely just as important. The third one, HomeBot engaged. As you should all be aware, everybody outside of Canadian clients, I apologize if we have any Canadian clients on here right now, we're working on it, all right? But anybody outside of Canada, every Ylopo account's coming with a free HomeBot account for your first 999 leads. So I encourage everybody to at least upload 999 of them, right? Take advantage of it. HomeBot's an awesome tool. It's a great seller tool to take advantage of. And anybody that actually interacts with the HomeBot digest, once it's sent out and you've uploaded them into HomeBot, they're going to come in with that HomeBot engage tag. And they're also going to come in with a link directly in Follow Up Boss to their exact digest. So you'll have all those talking points before you even reach out. It's a fantastic tool. Make sure you're taking advantage of it. And then the last tag, call now equals yes. Those will be people asking for a direct phone call when they register, or if you're working direct connect leads, they'll be tagged the same as well. So all of these people have triggered something important on the back end of the website, a reason to give you to reach out to them, even if it's just to thank them for using your website as a small business owner, right? Definitely reaching out to them. Same kind of thing, sorting by last visit can be very fruitful. You can see a ton of website activity going on. I'm trying to catch people as close as I can to them being on the website, right? So we're calling the new leads for those first 10 days, calling a bunch, right? Making sure we're encouraging all of our agents. That first week's pretty imperative. Number two, important, we're working through everybody that's triggered some of these important tags over here. And then we're moving into number three, Raya replies. Raya is our chatbot, right? AI, it's getting crazier every day. If you weren't there for the webinar that Howard and G hosted, definitely check it out on our media center. It's getting scary good, guys. It's pretty cool. But as of right now, number three will be everybody that's been communicating with our chatbot. And the tags over here include AI engaged and AI needs follow-up. Now, depending on your team size, if you have an ISA, sometimes these can be valuable to even separate, because AI engaged, that first tag there, that's the first response to Raya. And I've seen a lot of clients have a lot of fruition taking over those conversations, right? Raya's fantastic, don't get me wrong, guys, but you know what? You're an expert in your community, right? In my opinion, you can always do a little bit better job, and you can guide the conversation however you want it to go. Raya's there for backup, great at getting those nurture questions out of the way, but you know what? You can shine in there with your community expertise and really guide it the way you want it to go. Especially if you have an ISA on your team, that AI engage tag, sometimes it can be worth setting it up in its own smart list, because that is the first response to Raya from the lead, as long as it's not a negative response. If they tell you anything negative, we'll opt them out automatically. You don't have to worry about that. The second tag on here, AI needs follow-up, that one's the complete opposite. So that'll mean that the full conversation with Raya has already happened. Raya's reached its limits of its nurture capability, and 99% of the time told this lead you were going to call them and what phone number you were going to call them from. I'd be pretty upset if I missed a phone call after Raya warmed this lead up for me. Great. So definitely both worth paying attention to. Depending on if you have an ISA or not, you may want to separate that AI engage tag out. Up to you. But definitely same thing. Everybody's been communicating with Raya. I'm reaching out, taking over those conversations if I have the time. If not, definitely make sure you're looking over that full Raya conversation, calling that lead and providing that additional value. Now we're getting into the good ones. All right. So one, working the new leads, working my important tags, working anybody that's been communicating with Raya. Then we're working into pretty much strictly website activity. So number 4, leads active, is a beautiful smart list. In my opinion, number 4 and number 5 are probably the best ones. If you only have 10 minutes in the day, this is probably the ones I'd focus on. Strictly website activity. So number 4, leads active, still covering only that initial lead stage. So it won't be anybody you've moved into any other stage. Stage includes lead. Last communication more than 7 days ago. Last visit less than 7 days ago are the filters. So this will be everybody that's been on your website in the last 7 days, who it's been over 7 days since you've talked to, and they're still in the lead stage. Same thing, you could sort by that last visit tab right here, and then see last communication right next to it. Website activity, guys, is probably the best indication. This is where I see the clients having the most success, hyper focusing on these active people.
Um,
Looks like we got a chat here. Go
Yeah, I
ahead,
was
Andy.
just going to say, to that question there, this is kind of operating as like a workflow, right? And there was a question here that says, when you're interacting with lists 2 and 3, you need to remove those tags so they come off the list. The answer long-term is yes. If you want the lead to stop populating in important or Raya, you would, but I would leave those tags on there for at least a 3 to 4 call, 5 call cycle. And after you've reached out to that person maybe 5 times after triggering those tags, I would say best practices would be then to remove that tag, see if they trigger another one. That would be more on the important list. But Lauren, what would be kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a good call out and a great question there, Douglas. Remember, the stages are going to be controlling most of this and the communication. So all of these smart lists are based on communication. So they're going to pop in and out of these lists based on the last time your agent spoke to this lead. So they'll automatically fall in and out of here. And as soon as you move them out of that initial lead stage, like you got a hold of them, figured out they were 9+ months out, you moved them into the cold stage, they're not going to pop up in these first 4 smart lists anyway. So yes, you can remove the tags, but a lot of it is meant to just be automated based on phone calls and based on stage changes. So both can be very valuable. But if you want it to just automatically, smoothly, just make sure you're taking advantage of those stages, you're moving those stages, and make sure your agents are reaching out to these leads, right? So number 4, website activity based on just the lead stage. Number 5, nurture active. This is everybody else in your database. So we look over here at the stages. This will include all your hot, warm, cold, past client, sphere, whatever the case may be, all your other stages. This is basically everybody in your database that's been active on your website in the last 7 days, who it's been over 7 days since you've talked to. Website activity is important. I'm probably going to nail on it 5 or 6 more times, guys. Make sure you're paying attention to these ones at least. And then we move into 6, 7, and 8. These just help you maintain contact with people you've moved into those hot, warm, and cold stages. Because remember, they're no longer going to be popping up in these first 4 smart lists. Hot, the timeframes on here, guys, are arbitrary. Whatever you and your team are comfortable with, just make sure you have something in place to maintain contact with people you've moved into other stages. So hot leads by default, we have it, anybody that you moved into the hot stage, reaching out every 3 days. As I said, if your team every 5 days is better for that, just change this last communication filter. Number 7, warm leads, same exact thing, but this will remind you to reach out to everybody in your warm stage every 2 weeks. Cold, same exact thing, but once a month for all of your cold leads. And then it can be beneficial sometimes, especially for these cold leads, since you're not going to be reaching out to them but once a month, unless they start popping up in your other smart lists indicating they're getting a little more active. I can set up some automations for those type of leads. Cold leads, bad credit renter leads, stuff like that, I can really automate. And we've actually got quite a few good ones that Barry and Gabe and actually created. So if you want to check those out, definitely book some time with a trainer or your CSM, and we can let you know about those and get more advanced with you as well. So that's kind of just the smart list and how we encourage everybody to use that into your day-to-day workflow. Get comfortable with it. We'll get that foundation down. And then if you guys want to meet with one of us, tell us where you're having issues with it. Tell us what's working great. We can, of course, help you fine tune it based on your business needs. But this initial foundation is super important. So get that part down. Next, we'll kind of jump into some areas on how you can prospect, especially y'all with already large databases. Did you want to add anything to the smart list here, Andy, before we move on?
No, I think this is kind of your foundation of prospecting, and this is your workflow. And so what you're going to find is some days you're only going to have 30 minutes. And if you've got an ISA, maybe it's a little bit more of a complex workflow. But as an agent, right, we're very busy. And so if you can just check 30 minutes to 45 minutes every single day to go in here and at minimum look at new, important RAI replies, leads active, and nurture active. If you can clear those lists out on a daily basis, I promise you, you'll have those the touches needed to convert those leads because they're going to stay in new for 10 days. That means if you're doing it right, you should have 8 to 10 calls on there. But 10, do we need 10? Maybe we just need 7, right? That's what we're looking for. So, but use the stages. I mean, it's a workflow, and then build your systems around this workflow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great call out. We've got a couple chats here. Tom, can you send us the parameters for each smart list? Yes, Tom, they're listed on a knowledge base article and in our follow-up email. We will probably include most of that. If not, just reach out to support@ylopo.com and we can send you the knowledge base link. I might be able to find it here real quick and post it in the chat. I'll try to do that too. We are new to Ylopo. Do you have a recording of this? Yes, we actually host a new client go live training Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, a live class kind of just like this, where we'll go over the follow-up boss stuff, stars, and branded website tools. So make sure your team's aware of that. And all of us trainers do one-on-one sessions if you ever want to get your whole team trained up or just your administrator on the account trained up. Just let your client success manager know, and we will get you taken care of. Great questions. Oh, Gabby, you're awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we got one of the other trainers in here. She just posted that smart list link in the chat there for Tom, if you want to check that out. All right. So let's get into some little prospecting ideas. Some cool things you can do. I think I learned these from Barry or Gabe or Matt. Yeah, that's another big call out, guys. Matt consistently is hosting an open office hours every day. Do I have the link on it? Yeah. Make sure you guys join this at least once. Even if you put it on in the background, there is not a better place to pull in a massive amount of information. Matt runs a very successful team out in Orange County, California. So we hired him on to kind of consider it a coaching session every day for an hour, 9 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. Check it out. Say hi to Matt. He's super cool. And this is stuff they talk about consistently, how he's tying it into his business, how other agents are hopping in there. I'm taking ideas from people in here all the time, guys. Very valuable resource. Make sure you're a part of it. Okay, so prospecting. Thanks again, Gabby. So there's a couple cool things you can do within Follow Up Boss. Follow Up Boss is super intuitive, all right? We'll talk about a little bit about some automations and action plans, but the biggest thing I'm going to talk about is trying to revitalize some of your database, especially if you have a large database, 15, 20,000, 10,000 leads. There's a lot of cool stuff you could try to do to draw some of those older leads back up to the top. On top of our remarketing. You know, most people join Ylopo for the remarketing. These people are going to be seeing, if you have them uploaded into our system, they're going to be seeing your branding ads on Facebook and Instagram as they browse through their feeds. And that's a great way to get some ROI flowing in the beginning. But you can even add some cherries on top of that yourself by taking 5-10 minutes, building out some email templates and setting it up via some automations if you want. The first thing I like to talk about is just there's some small easy ones you can do. If you've got a large database, I can come in here to all people. I can clear all my filters. All people is everybody in your database. It's not everything after that's a smart list, right? I can come in here and just do a simple filter for last visit. And let's say was more than 1 month ago. And this is usually going to be a nice big chunk out of your database. This will be everybody that hasn't been on your website in the last month. So maybe I take that and I can filter it down based on price points, location, time, you know, anything I want. Email is good, stuff like that if I want to narrow this down a little more. But the basic premise is I can come in here, select all of these people, select all, and then batch email them. And then a simple email template like just like this works wonders. Are you still interested in the area? And before area, drop a merge field of like viewed address. This will show the last property they ever looked at on your website. If they've never looked at a property on your website, it'll be blank, so it works both ways. Get really comfortable with these merge fields, all right? There's a lot of cool ones in here, and what this does is pull in information automatically from this lead's profile, whoever that email is going out to. So even if I batch email 5,000 people, each email is gonna be, you know, personalized based on that lead's information as long as I use a bunch of these merge fields. Stay out of that spam folder, right? I don't want to send the exact same email 5,000 times. All right, but subject line of the email, are you still interested in the view address area? And then down in the body, something as simple as, hey, doing a little spring cleaning in my database or fall cleaning, whatever you want to put. I don't have any notes in here if you ever ended up purchasing that property you were looking for. Are you still interested in this area? And I can drop another merge field of like last 5 preview. What this does is show the last 5 properties they ever looked at on the website, but in a nice grid with descriptions and clickable links, all going back to your website. Every email or text message you send, put a link back to your website and everything. Draw your own website activity all the time, guys. It's huge. And then send this out. And the best part about it, every client I've done this for, it gets around a 40% open rate. It gets a lot of responses. And I can track anytime I send a batch email. If I go into admin, reporting batch emails, I can see every batch email I've sent and I can see the results of it, how many people unsubscribed, clicked, open on it, all right from Follow Up Boss. So it's very valuable. Try that trick out. I promise you it's going to get around a 40% open rate, a lot of website activity as well. And the best part, maybe somebody comes back, yeah, I ended up purchasing a house. Thanks for checking in. Okay, well, congratulations. Would you be interested in this home equity report? And I can transition them right over into a home bot on the seller side. Hey, let me send you out this home equity report quarterly. And that way you're at least staying in front of them, providing them some value. If they ever do go to sell or they, have some friends or family, you'll be top of mind. So little small things like that. And I can go out there and I can build out that template and then send it out every quarter, right? Every 3 months, people that haven't been on my website in more than a month, try to revitalize some of that stuff. We've seen some savvy agents as well using that HomeBot tool. This is Barry's site. I'm going to use this to show it off. Hope he doesn't mind. But you all get a branded site if you choose to do so with us. And there's a couple cool things you can do on here. The first one I like to talk about is like the HomeBot. This is a great way to do prospecting for seller leads too, right? Your sell page, your home valuation page. This is a HomeBot page. So anybody that registers on here is automatically set up on HomeBot, automatically sent to Follow Up Boss for you. So what we've seen some savvy agents do, come in here. If you're using Google Chrome, it's as easy as right click and create QR code. If you're not using Google Chrome, just copy that web address and take it to any QR code generator. But now I can make mailers or flyers, free home equity report, my logo, QR code, and mail it out to areas I like working in. It's a great way to generate your own seller leads with the added benefit of everybody that registers via this route is automatically uploaded into HomeBot for you. You got a full address for them right off the bat. So little small things like that can definitely help out as well. Back to your website, you'll have a tools page as well. If you just add /tools to the end of your main website, you'll get a tools page. Barry's is pretty fancy. He customized this a little bit, so yours is not going to look exactly the same, but you will have all the same tools. And this branded market trends tool can be very valuable for some prospecting in your database as well. I've seen some clients turn this into like a monthly newsletter or something I'm going to send out anytime I want to highlight any of my featured listings in a particular city. For example, we all know Barry's in Virginia Beach here, so let's pull up his community page. All your community pages will have this information as well, but that branded market trends tool will let you take it even further. Give it a second to load here. So you'll have this market trends, kind of just the last year of what's been going on in that neighborhood, right? Virginia Beach, median listing price, market action index, total active listings, median price per square foot. It's got something the lead can interact with, a lot of valuable information, especially, you're trying to get them maybe to lower or raise the price on their property. I can highlight what's been going on in their community over the last year, where the trends are, all that great stuff. So I can go into my tools page, use this market trends, and anytime I get a featured listing in Virginia Beach or wherever my city is, now I can highlight, since I have auto tagging turned on in Follow Up Boss, like we talked about a little bit ago, I can filter down my database for everybody who's ever searched in that area, batch email them, include this market trends information on that email, and then highlight my featured listings below. Hey, here's kind of what's going on in the area. Just want to keep you updated. Here's a couple hot listings you might not have known about, and then just plug in your featured listings. You can take it even further. If you go to your dashboard, guys, you have a bunch of ways to get free Diva videos. There's a couple video only download templates that you can attach into here. You can get as crazy as you want, but spend that 10, 15 minutes building out some templates, maybe for your top 3 or 4 cities in your area. And that way you always have some value ready to go anytime you get a featured listing, or you just want to highlight some community events going on in that area. Select the team member, select the location. We'll just use Virginia Beach just for the example. This is going to show you the latest market trends. It's going to show you the latest 16 properties. If the locals call it something else, I can make it be displayed as whatever I want here. Select the market trends data to show. Usually all of it's pretty good. And then you can change this background image. I don't know too many people living like that. So you may want to use that Google map point or custom background image if you can. But by default, it's going to be that modern house right there. So I can create a link to this page, print this page out, save it into an email template as a photo or a link. Anytime this is clicked on, it's evergreen. Anytime it's clicked on, it's going to update with that latest information, market trends going on. So now you've got a reason, you're providing a little value, and then you're highlighting your properties below. So I'm staying out of that spam folder because I'm providing them something to interact with, provide some value. I'm not just shooting them properties via email all the time. Give them something like that. And you can tie all that in to like 80% automation within Follow Up Boss. It's really cool. Um, what else? And then outside of that, as far as the prospecting one, make sure you guys are just hammering these people that are active on your website. Number 4 and number 5 for prospecting exploit are probably the most valuable to you. Always new leads first, definitely, but people that are super active on my website who it's been a while since they've been talked to, I'm definitely calling them, checking in, making sure everything's going good, updating their searches, sending push listings if I need to, taking over those riot conversations. A lot like that can be very valuable. I think we got another chat here. If I'm using FUB and Ylopo through my company, do I still get my own website? Bowie, great question. Your team will get a branded site, and then depending on your team, you will also get subdomains. So it would be like your first name dot your team name's website. And then the added benefit is if you do have that, anybody using, encourage your agents to use their own subdomain, because any leads that register via their subdomain will come into Follow Up Boss automatically assigned to that agent. So very cool there. I don't think we have any more chats. Andy, anything you want to throw in with some prospecting ideas here?
No, I think it's more important to, ingrain that you're going to be prospecting, right? And then these are some really cool tips and tricks to help you with that process, because it's so easy to not want to do this because it can be a little stressful and it's hard, right? And so the easier we make it, the more systematic we make it, the more likely you are to do it, the more likely your team is to do it. So having these tools available, figuring out how to use them, and then, build them into your listing presentation and have like a role play with your team, or even with like your partner if you're a solo agent, and practice using them. Get in there, don't try to use it for the first time at a listing appointment, right? Make sure you know how to put this stuff in play at the right time. So, but yeah, it's just about the systems and the process and being familiar with how it works.
And staying consistent with it. Yeah, great call out, Sandy, there. A couple other things I like to point out is, especially when you get a little more advanced within Follow Up Boss, there's some cool stuff you can do, especially within the lead flow and the automations. Talking briefly on automations and action plans, I'm not going to dive too far into this. This is going to be its own hour-long phone call, guys. But if you ever want to talk, let us know. I love talking automations. Okay, so automations is what triggers action plans for leads that pretty much already exist in your database. If I want my new leads to get separate action plans as they come in, lead flow is where you manage that. So lead flow controls all your new leads as soon as they come in, and you can see what action plan. For example, Ylopo seller leads here are getting the action plan, Raya voice calls, whatever that action plan is, the distribution, the lender. You can even get more advanced with these. I come in here and I hit advanced settings. I can add conditions. I've seen some agents, depending on your area, maybe you're in a more luxury oriented area, leads that come in over a certain price point. Maybe I separate a different action campaign out for them, right? With different videos or different results, whatever I want to put in there. But there's a lot of cool stuff. Price points, I can base this on cities. I can base this on tags. So for example, if people come in with that open house tag, because they're using our open house tool, I can kick off some automations based on that to provide follow-up. So definitely lead flow takes care of new leads as they come in. Automations kind of kicks off action plans, email campaigns for leads that already exist. I encourage everybody to at least have some automations for like your cold leads. I would create a stage for like a bad credit and renter. You're going to get some every now and then. Might as well provide them some value. Even if I don't work with renters, I can still keep them in my database, maintain them, provide them value, and then hopefully one day they're ready to go, right? And as far as that, most automations you create, 99% of them, 90% and above are going to be stage changer tag added. You can do some really cool advanced stuff with it here, but most of them will be that. So stage change, for example, anytime I move somebody into this cold stage, they're a longer term lead, maybe they're 9 months, a year out, I can provide them some additional value since they're only popping up in my smart list once a month, reminding me to call them, right? So what happens? Stage change to cold, what do I want to do? I can add conditions here if I want. I don't really need any for this, but I can come in here, add an action plan. And actually Follow Up Bosses one is pretty good for this. Long-term nurture by Follow Up Boss is a pretty good action plan. I encourage everybody at a minimum, guys, go into your lead flow. All your Ylopo leads and most of your other lead sources are going to be coming in with some action plans. A lot of people like to use Barry's action plans, it's Professor Barry 3.0 for their Ylopo leads, but go in there and personalize it. That way you at least get comfortable with how these action plans are kicking off, how the steps work, how the stages or tags kick it off. And then that way you know what's going out to every one of your leads, right? Barry's that Virginia, nice smiles. It doesn't work everywhere, right? Some areas that's not all going to work for you. Go in there, personalize it based on your business, your community areas, at least know what's going out to all of your leads, add your little, finishing touches into it. And then setting up for one for your bad credit renter leads, because we worked with lab code agents, I believe, to create this Ylopo LCA action plan. And then you can set anybody up that's like a bad credit or a renter situation. And this is, 11 emails that go out almost a year, 200 days here. So it's like one a month. It's not overwhelming, but each email in here is like how to improve your credit score. Things to think about before you talk to your first mortgage lender, making the transition from a renter to a buyer. Now I'm providing them that value. They're still getting those email properties because everybody's set up on a dynamic listing alert right off the bat. And I'm providing them this credit value, but I'm not, spending a whole lot of phone time on them unless they pop up in one of my smart lists indicating a lot more activity on my website or something like that. So make sure you're still giving them some value, because guys, at the end of the day, your database is worth money, right? Maintain it, nurture it, right? At the end, I go to retire, I've got 20,000 leads that I've taken care of. That's a nice chunk of change for me there, right? So at a minimum, that's a great reason to do it right off the bat. But a lot of this will take the weight off your guys' shoulders, right? We're introducing that Raya voice. It's going to be awesome, guys, taking over these calls for all these different lead sources, helping you out with that. And that's where these smart lists come into play as well, helping you maintain you and your agents focus on people that are more active, right?
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Just wanted to touch one more thing on those action plans. I believe when mostly what I see, the kind of the default setting that Ylopo will turn on for you when they've set up the integration into Follow Boss will be the Ylopo Realtor Drip, which is a really good long touch point. One thing you guys should know is that it kicks off on day 7 or 8. And so it's kind of anticipating that you're going to be reaching out heavy for the first 7 days. Day 8, there we go. So, which is great. So you might want to put something in front of that, whether that is the Barry 3.0, which will have 4 emails that go out over 7 days, and then it moves to kind of this softer touch as it starts to back off. Or you could, and there's also a tag, I think, on Barry that kicks off the LCA drip. So you would need to build that automation. But I just want you to be very aware that it comes with this plan, and it's a really good plan, but those first 7 days are going to be empty. And so if you're not reaching out, you're not texting, you're not emailing, the lead's not going to know you exist. So yeah, just wanted to point that out.
Nothing beats a phone call, guys. Automations, action plans, all of this is great. Take some of that stress off your shoulders, but nothing beats that down to earth phone call, building that relationship with these leads, right? And like Andy said at the beginning, internet leads some of them are going to be a longer term nurture. So as soon as you can get a hold of them, start building that relationship, start providing that value, the better off you're going to be. And the more organized you are with your stages, your action plans, your automations, the less stress you're going to have on you and your agent's shoulders. Really just help you focus your call time, your 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever you have in the day to do it, is hyper focused on more active people that usually provide, better results. I think we hit all the questions in the chat so far, but I've pretty much touched on everything I want to touch on. Guys, like I said, make sure reach out to your client success manager. If you want to set up some time with the training team, you guys want to sit your whole team down, we can walk you through all of this, or an administrator on the account, the team lead. If you want to sit down with one of us and get super advanced, we absolutely can. But the biggest call out, make sure at least once, even if you put it on in the background while you're sending some emails, I promise you will learn a lot of insight in this office hours with Coach Matt. And on Wednesdays, you can even catch Barry and Gabe in there. So that tends to draw a lot more people. People love Barry and Gabe. So just be prepared for if you join the Wednesdays class. But this is Monday through Friday. So make sure you take advantage of it at least once. And plus, every day of the week, we've usually got 2 or 3 training classes going on. Take advantage of it. You know how much people charge for these coaching sessions out in the industry, right? All of this is included with your Ylopo plan, and it's mutually beneficial for y'all to be very successful. So if we can help anywhere along the way, don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to open it up for questions and answers. If you guys have anything you'd like to go over, please paste it in the Q&A or the chat there, and we'll try to hit for the next 5 minutes or so, and then wrap it up for the day. How do we get We got one from Douglas. How do we get the Berry 3.0 to automatically kick off the Ylopo drip? Douglas, great question. That is managed in lead flow. So we go into admin, we go into lead flow. This is the action plan by default is what all these new leads are getting based on your lead source. So for example, Ylopo leads, I would just select this action plan and change it to, I think it's Professor Berry. Yeah, Professor Berry 3.0, 2.0, whichever one you want to use. But like I said, I encourage you to go through it and personalize it a little bit, right? What is your contact information should we need to set up a call? Yolanda, keep an eye out for the follow-up email at the end of the day. It'll have like our calendar links and our whole events section going on, or just let your client success manager know you want to sit down with somebody on the training team. It's myself and 2 other trainers here, and we'd love to meet with you. Even Matt does those one-on-one sessions as well. So if you want to take it more advanced and go about like talk maybe about scaling your business or call role play, scripting, stuff like that, Matt does one-on-one sessions as well. So keep that in mind. Take advantage of it, guys. Brian has a question. Did I miss one?
Yeah,
Took a poll. Okay.
I can speak to this a little bit, and it's this idea of people just want to look at homes and they don't want to be bothered by real estate agents, right? And I understand where that's coming from, and as an ISA, it's something that it's a fear that I had to get over, and it's something that I call reluctance, and initially it's going to take a little bit of effort to get over that. But what we're looking to do here isn't necessarily call them and sell them a house today. What we're trying to do is to provide them with a resource to help them strategize whatever sort of real estate need they need. And if we use that kind of language specifically, we can get past this creepy, hey, you registered on my website. By the way, I saw what you were having for breakfast this morning. Wow, I can't believe you eat that, right? We got to get past this, right? We don't want to sound like creepy people looking in people's windows. So, setting a script that's going to speak to that a little bit and just say, hey, I want you to know I call all of the people that register on my website because I want them to know that I'm a real person, not just some chatbot reaching out to you, trying to sell you a home or list your house, right? I want to be your resource for any real estate needs. If you don't want to hear from me again, no problem, no sweat. That being said, do you have any questions I might be able to answer for you about the market or where we might be going in this? And so if you approach it from a point of service, right, rather than as a salesperson, because if you got commission breath, right, they're going to smell it. And so you want to gear your messaging specifically to that, but don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call people. It's the fastest way to get deals on the table. And that's kind of what I'll say to it about that.
Yeah, great call out there. And looks like we had one more Q&A. The AI set of tags does not regenerate for my CSM this week. So if I remove the AI engaged or similar tag, the lead will not get the tag on the smart list again. Dave, that's kind of why we were talking about just using those stages can be more valuable than, because if you're moving stages, they're popping in and out of that smart list, and it's also based off communication. So as long as your agents are reaching out to these leads, you shouldn't need to worry about removing the tags as much. Kind of a personal preference on that end. But using just the stages and making sure that last communication tab, that will take care of leads falling in and out of the smart list automatically for you. We tried to automate as much of it as possible. They would regenerate. I'm not actually 100% on that. Dave, let me check with our tech guys if that does get reapplied if you remove the tag. I assume it does, but I'm not 100% on that. I will, if you want to ping me, DM me or email, I'll follow up with you on that. But using the stages and just the last communication will usually be the best way around that. All right, I think we've touched on everything. Let's see, make sure I didn't miss any chats in here. Q&A, we're looking good, no last minute. All right, well then, thank you so much for your guys' time. Andy, you're the man. I appreciate you today. One of the better CSMs we got here, guys. So if he's yours, you're in good hands. But definitely let your client success manager know if you guys need any additional assistance, you want to go further, we're here to help. Just let us know. Other than that, y'all have a great day. Go out there and make a ton of money, huh? Take care.
Happy hunting.